A Plaguelands Media production.
Hey everyone, this is Hugh from Plaguelands Media, pardon me, bringing you an RPG review. This time I'm going to be looking at Dungeons & Dragons Rules Cyclopedia, published by TSR. Now this book is a book that is very near and dear to my heart. Back in the day, my brother actually purchased this. He owned a copy of this, and I always loved looking at it. I always wanted a copy of my own. Sadly now, this book is out of print. However, you can get this from Drive-Thru RPG Print on Demand, which is where I got my copy from. The original cover art, just gorgeous. And the original text on the back. The color of the spine is different. I remember it used to be white. This is kind of a off cream color. Now, why is this book so good? This book is basically the entire rule system for the original Dungeons and Dragons from the boxed sets, the the basic, all the way up. So this book covers everything. It is absolutely huge. The printing quality is fantastic. I have no complaints. The paper is nice and thick. So you have your introduction, then you have your steps in character creation. The art, I always love the art in the Rules Cyclopedia. If I do have any complaint, it's the way that the book is actually laid out. So it basically goes through types of characters. For example, the cleric, the prime requisite is wisdom. There's no other requirements, but the dwarf, strength, but also needs a constitution of 9. These are rules that they've done away with now in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. It's kind of evolved. But when I was playing 2nd edition, you couldn't be a certain class unless you had a certain number in an ability score. Wisdom for clerics, strength for fighters, that kind of a thing. Now you can make a fighter with a strength of like 6 or whatever, and it all kind of leans more into the role-playing. But this was the original kind of Dungeons and Dragons rules. We have the AC, things like that. Height and weights, how to earn experience. So chapter 1 is really your basics. Then we go into the classes. We have all the classics here. The cleric. The experience point tables, again, this has changed now, but back in the day, certain character classes leveled up quicker. For example, to get to level 2, the cleric only needs 1500 experience. Turning undead table. To get to level 2, the fighter needs 2000 experience, so the cleric levels up quicker. If you've played any of the old video games like Pool of Radiance, Curse of the Azure Bond, Secret of the Silver Blades, this is all very familiar to you. We have the magic user. Again, they didn't have... magic users weren't split up into wizard, sorcerer, warlock. It was just like magic user or mage. Thief. Dwarf and elf. So certain races were considered classes. So you couldn't be like a dwarven fighter. You were just a dwarf. You couldn't be an elven mage. You were just an elf. Excuse me for one moment. My dog is having a bit of an attack in the kitchen. I will be right back. There you go, stupid dog. There you go, mate. Okay. Sorry about that. And you had halfling, which is the equivalent of a hobbit. There weren't any gnomes back in this edition. Then we had optional character classes. Druid, mystic were kind of introduced later. Again, mystic isn't around anymore. It's kind of the monk. What's interesting is when you look at the druid, the highest level a druid could attain Yeah, it goes kind of well beyond that. So to become a druid in this edition, you had to be a neutral cleric of 9th to 29th level, and then you could change to a druid. Then you have your spells, which lists all the spells up to 9th level. I'm not going to go through them, but the art is awesome. Chapter 4 is equipment. So, weapons, things like that. Armor. Siege equipment. Because again, this is kind of encompassing all the boxed sets of the original Dungeons and Dragons. So when you got to a certain level, you could command armies and lay siege to castles and things like that. Other character abilities. There's like a very difficult to read table there. Weapons mastery, throwing weapons, languages, all that kind of thing. We have a whole chapter on movement, encounters, evading, dungeon encounters like random tables, dungeon encounters. Sorry if you can hear that sound in the background. My dog's legs are not doing well and he's constantly falling over. Then we have our combat chapter with all the all the roles and things like that. It's really great reading. I mean, warrior on a Pegasus attacking a dragon. Come on, underwater combat, mass combat. As a kid, reading this. You read the chapters on mass combat and I could never imagine playing a game in which I would be leading an army, but it would just evoke so many, imaginative scenarios and things. Experience gain, things like that. NPCs, strongholds and dominions, which is really cool. Dungeon Master procedures, just all your typical stuff. Classic Beholder. Thief abilities. Then we have monsters. I absolutely love the Elk Centaur. I think that just looks so cool. Classic Beholder. The biggest problem here, of course, is no pictures for the monsters, but I mean, wow, there's a picture of a dolphin. They could have put a picture of a doppelganger there. Maybe. Awesome dragon picture. Water weird. Elementals. Gargoyle. Just all your classic Dungeons & Dragons monsters. The Hydra. Werewolf. Great picture there. Okay. Monster spellcasters. Now we come to a really interesting chapter on the Immortals. Now, what I love about this is your character can actually become immortals, and it gives you how you go about doing that. So you'd find a sponsor, you would petition someone, then there are 4 paths that you can take. So you can be the Dynast, Epic Hero, Paragon, and Polymath. Now let's for example look at the Dynast. This is the route to the Sewer of Time. This path favors clerics and druids. So you have to do a quest. You undertake a quest for an artifact that will allow him to travel through time. Trial. The character must travel ahead in time to 3 separate periods and help 3 different descendants to retain their kingdoms and perpetuate their dynasty. Testimony. The character must create a realm with a population of at least 50,000 people if human, or 10,000 if demi-human. Demi-human, of course, dwarf, halfling, or elf. He must also design and build a great new capital for his land. Task. The character must found a dynasty. The dynasty must be ruled by the character and his or her descendants for at least 20 years of the character's life. At the end of that time, the character must have a living grandchild to inherit the dynasty. The grandchild may be adopted instead of a blood relative, but must be announced as the heir. During the 20 years, the character should face at least 4 major challenges to his rule. So you can just imagine a games master running a campaign which will ultimately see the players become immortal gods, and they give you kind of the quests and the rules on how to do that. Reading that, it's just awesome. Treasure, which is like magic items and all that kind of cool stuff. There's a troll. Then we have the chapter on campaigning. How to design a setting, all that kind of cool stuff. The planes of existence. And then the appendix of this book brings in the known world, the Grand Duchy of Karamikos. Then we have some... you would have gotten these as poster maps in the box sets. And we have the known worlds, some more poster maps, the D&D game world, a bibliography of things if you want to buy, how to convert to Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and then character sheets. And if you want to draw your own maps, you can photocopy that. Covers absolutely everything from the original Dungeons and Dragons. Absolutely fantastic production value from Drive-Thru RPGs, print on demand. I also got the Dark Sun boxed set, print on demand, which I will do a review of a little bit later. But this is the Dungeons and Dragons Rules Cyclopedia, one of my absolute favorite books for purely nostalgic reasons. Although I would love to run a game of old school Dungeons and Dragons, maybe when my Call of Cthulhu campaign comes to an end, but I don't see that happening anytime soon because we're just having way too much fun with it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, comment. You can follow us on Facebook, here on YouTube. You can follow us in Amazon at our Kindle store. Please, everyone, stay safe. Hope you enjoyed the video and have a fantastic rest of your day.